Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time Wednesday night. Lovely to have you guys here for another edition of the Primetime Show. So no Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins at practice today. We're going to talk about that. Get into our level of concern of what we saw on the injury report, first injury report of the week. We will discuss over or under what it is going to take for you guys to get over Ryan Tannehill's 3-interception performance against the New Orleans Saints, and then rising and falling will be how we end the show tonight. Got a lot of good stuff to get to. Looking forward to getting into it. You'll hear from Ryan Tannehill, who spoke today. Before we get started, need you guys to share this show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. YouTube, Twitch, subscribe to the channel, throw a like on the video if you would be kind enough, and we would be grateful for you that way. That way we can all get together and talk about the Tennessee Titans and what lies ahead for them with a really big game against the Chargers this week. As you guys, more of you trickle in, we'll share the show. I'll share the show around from my stuff here in just a second, but we can go ahead and get it rolling. Music City Malik says, this new Madden 24 sucks. Lucas and I were talking about this the other day on the radio show. I can't tell you the last time I bought a Madden. But at a certain point, what else can they do? What more can Madden add to change the experience dramatically for you? I feel like Madden's been the same thing. It's almost like Hard Knocks for me. Maybe I guess you if you're new to the video game, like you're buying it for the first time, maybe it's cool for you. But I don't know. I feel like Madden is just it is what it is. Doesn't really move the needle. Anyway, we're not here to do video game reviews. We are here to talk about the Titans. Let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Wednesday evening from the Zen Sports Studio. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the fine folks at True Math Fitness in the Gulch. Go to truemathfitness.com. Get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. Nobody has better workout options for you, whether it's group classes, personal training, or just access to their open gym than Superbook Sports. Then True Math Fitness. Zen Sports is where you go to get in on all the action. Football season means it's time to switch to Zen Sports, the fastest growing sports book in Tennessee. They're changing the betting bonus game with their cash rewards program, which I'll tell you more about later on in the show. Download the Zen Sports app today. And of course, the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Amanda J. Gentry is where you go to start to make sure that your constitutional rights are protected. Amanda J. is the best in the business. Go to amandajgentry.com to find out more about how she and her team can protect you. Anyone know what the overall offensive line grade was from Sunday, says Trippin' Titans. Are they graded out better than expected? Well, as a unit, yes, they did. And one of the metrics that was being discussed around that, because we're not going to, we can talk about the offensive line at some point. In fact, if you haven't heard the install yet today, the podcast that Greg Cosell and I did, he was very, very critical of Andre Dillard. But the rest of it, he said, it was fine. Dillard is something, though, that is going to be a problem for them throughout the course of the year. And Dillard graded out well in the run game, but basically every pass set, he was a liability. And you'll hear from Greg, who put it, as diplomatically as humanly possible, but was, very clear in the point that he got across, which, we'll probably do. Let's save the offensive line talk for tomorrow, for those of you who haven't heard the install podcast yet. But we had an injury report today, and neither Treylon Burks or DeAndre Hopkins were out there. Now, what Vrabel told us on Treylon Burks is that he had a personal matter that he had to take care of, and so it was an excused absence for him. And what was on the injury report for Hopkins was he was listed with an ankle injury. He did not practice. It was not listed as a personal day, a day of rest for DeAndre Hopkins. But the three players who did not practice today, Burks, Amani Hooker, who's still in the concussion protocol, and DeAndre Hopkins, all three DNP. Then you have the limited squad, who consists of Christian Fulton, Tajay Spears, and Tier Tart with a hamstring and two groin injuries. Spears and Tart were. Trey Avery, who missed the game last week with a hamstring injury, he was full go. And Dylan Radens is listed as a full participant with a knee injury. So that's a good sign for Radens' progress. For the Chargers, Joey Bosa and Austin Eckler, two of the biggest names listed there. Eckler was regarded as a personal day, but also is listed with an ankle. Joey Bosa is dealing with a hamstring situation and was DNP today. So what on the injury report concerns you the most that you saw from the Titans? In the comment section, we'll talk about it together. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We are happy to take your comments throughout the course of the show. We will continue to discuss at length together what concerns you most about the injury report today. We will talk about them, or we will talk about that and address your concerns right after I remind you that your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by Two Rivers Ford. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford is the best place for you. It's been the best place for Middle Tennesseans for 40 years. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So as I look at the injury report today, what is the most concerning situation? Mr. Jones says none, as long as Derrick Henry is good. It's rare that Derrick Henry appears on the injury report, but they do have players who are important that are on the injury report today. So I think it's worth talking about. Trucker Rowe from the NO, I assume that's from New Orleans, says Demario Davis put Henry on his ass. The Saints defense is really, really good. Nobody's disputing that. Saints defense really, really good. Was not good against the run. Tajay Spears averaging 9 yards a carry. Derrick Henry, before they went away from him in the second half, was averaging over 5 yards a carry. So, Demario Davis, who's a great linebacker, and, the Saints defense, the Saints front in particular, who's really, really strong, I thought did play a nice game. But against the run, they were not a good group last year. They didn't look particularly good against the run this year. And the Titans' game plan didn't overwhelmingly revolve around the run for once in their lives. And so the Saints were able to ride that out. But I wouldn't say that the Saints did anything in particular to bottle Henry up. In fact, Henry was the best player on offense that the Titans had that day. But, if you want to say that they put Ryan Tannehill on his ass, you would be 1,000% correct. Running a lot of stunts, a lot of games up front. I thought they executed them very, very well. And they put the Titans offensive line, particularly Dillard and Skoronski, in a bit of a blender. So, from that standpoint, I'd agree. But, they weren't doing anything in particular overwhelmingly good to stop the run. And in fact, the Saints offense missed a lot of opportunities in the red zone, but they were also playing against a good defense in the Titans. So I think it was a pretty evenly matched game. Just a lot of miscues from Ryan Tannehill ultimately ended up being the difference. But as we move on to the Chargers, what on the injury report concerns you the most? We can talk about it together. But I think the thing for me is Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton, again, dealing with his hamstring situation, is really, really difficult to kind of, wrap your head around. Whether he plays or not, I'm more inclined. I don't have any information on this other than like a gut feeling. If he's already dealing with a hamstring thing, I don't know that they'd throw him out there against the Chargers on Sunday. Maybe he tries to give it a go. He's in a contract year. I know he's going to, his whole goal has been to be available, and for that to be kind of sandbagged in the first game of the year was really, really frustrating for him for sure. But I think the most concerning thing on that list is Christian Fulton. I think Hopkins is ultimately going to be fine. It's probably more a day of rest than it is an actual ankle situation, though, he's 31. It's worth paying attention to if the ankle is something that continues to pop up over the course of the next couple of weeks. But I think that the Christian Fulton situation is really the more concerning one. Amani Hooker, who was the best defensive back that the Titans had in this past game, in concussion protocol is also critical too. But Chargers have some really, really high-level wide receivers. They added Quentin Johnson out of TCU this year, and they're just big-bodied, a lot of ability and effort to defend down the field, because the Chargers are going to push the ball, even though the running game was the thing that kind of predicated themselves off of more against Miami. I would expect them to come out throwing against the Titans on Sunday here at Nissan Stadium. So Christian Fulton is the concern to me. You'll hear from him right after I remind you that the primetime show is presented by Zen Sports. Download the Zen Sports app today, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, and get in on all the action. When you sign up for Zen Sports with that promo code, you earn a welcome bonus that gives you 5% cash back on your total betting volume for your first 15 days of betting. 5%. Think about that. It's nuts. They offer you an incredibly easy to navigate mobile app. So what are you waiting for? Stop wasting time and money on other sports books when you could be earning real cash rewards with Zen Sports. Download today on the App Store or at zensports.com. Your wallet will thank you later. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions do apply. Must be 21 and up in Tennessee to bet. So looking at Christian Fulton situation, limited with a hamstring, it's really irritating. It's irritating for him. It's irritating for you. It's irritating for the coaching staff. He seems like he's making his best effort to be ready to go for Sunday. But, it feels like it's going to be a talking point again all year long.
Some calls on one game, call one way. It's not always uniform.
No, I'm good, man. Like I said, just taking it day by day.
Sometimes it actually works in our favor. This time it didn't.
And I'm trying to get out there this weekend.
What is the challenge? I guess you want to try to get yourself ready to play, but you don't want to do anything to set back in.
Yeah.
I mean, what's kind of the fine line
So many different things.
Yeah, I mean, really just on how I feel. Like I said, I feel like I've been getting better, day to day, since the game. And that's how I'm going to take it day by day. And that's been my approach since I got into camp, since I've been, just trying to stay focused on the present moment. And like I said, I'm just going how I feel, day to day.
What's your challenge this week against them?
It's very reminiscent to Derrick Henry, but just on the
around, but
opposite,
also
short,
running
kind of compact, but that guy is strong.
It's going to be a challenge on all levels. Like you said, they have a good running back, two good running backs, some good receivers, on the outside. So it's going to be key for us, to be on point in all phases. Just try to do what we can, to slow them down. They put up a lot of points last week, and I think we'll be good, with the adjustments that we made. We gave up, some plays last week, and I feel like we made the right adjustments this week, that'll help that.
So that's Christian Fulton. The Primetime Show is presented by the great people at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com. Get your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. Nobody is going to put you in better position to succeed than the great people at TrueMath Fitness. Go to TrueMathFitness.com. Check out any of their great membership options, their boot camp style classes, and their schedules, as well as personal training as you see fit. The best place to work out, a new way to work out for the new you, is TrueMathFitness.com. So that's Christian Fulton talking about his hamstring in a situation, and it's either Fulton or Hooker, right? Fulton or Hooker are the bigger concerns. I think that, anytime you see Hopkins' name on there, it's gonna make you, a little bit nervous, I think, because he's 31. You have a history with wide receivers who have gotten past the peak of their powers and who struggle to stay available. I don't think that's going to be Hopkins' issue, but the fact that he's there means that it's just worth paying attention to throughout the course of the week. Terry Ludlam says, I just want to know what quarterback we're playing Sunday. Well, I think that the answer to that is fairly obvious. You play the Chargers and you play Justin Herbert. So there's no mystery around that. Now, the running back situation for the Chargers is kind of up in the air. Eckler's ankle injury is something worth paying attention to. But there's no question that Justin Herbert is going to be the starting quarterback on Sunday. So I don't know. I'm confused as to what you're asking there, Terry. Eric Alonso says, is Farley ready yet? Nope, he's still on PUP. Listen, guys, Caleb Farley's situation is a difficult one, because not even for the off-field stuff, because the off-field stuff is the stuff of nightmares, right? His father passing away early in the year. But like when he's off PUP, you'll know. It's, there's been no transactions to indicate that he's off PUP. There's, he's dealing with a back injury that really sandbagged him in the middle of the year. I just don't think Caleb Farley is going to be a football factor this year. So I would not, I don't, you can ask about him as often as you want to, I guess is my point. But if there's a development with Caleb Farley we're talking about, obviously we're talking about a development with Caleb Farley. And, if there was a transaction to indicate that Caleb Farley was ready, you would have known it by now. If you follow your team as closely as many of you do, and listen, I know not all of you pay attention to every transaction that's made, and sometimes you miss some things. But yeah, I think that you'd have been made aware of the Farley situation had he been available. Nate's Burner says Raiden's come back from his ACL quicker than I thought. Didn't think he would play until December. No, I mean the ACL timeline is pretty. It's about 8 to 9 months. That's about right for Dillon Radunz to be back on track. He was a full participant in practice today. He is off PUP, so obviously Dillon Radunz will be available. Will be available sooner than will Caleb Farley. So, like I said, we'll keep you updated as information becomes available. But I think that Caleb Farley is not a factor for this year's football team at this point. But good to see Dillon Radunz making progress, to his credit. Both of those players in frustrating situations and just trying to prolong their NFL careers, whether it's here or elsewhere. And probably for both of them, it's going to end up being elsewhere. But we're not quite there yet. Let's see. Jason Martinez says the good Lord is trying that young man of Caleb Farley. Yeah. And I know he's super religious, and I'm not here to get into religious commentary, but like whatever higher power you believe in, man, like that is a really, really tough series of events over multiple years dating back to this dude's college career, pre-pandemic even, where Caleb Farley has been put in a lot of difficult situations. So, you do feel for him from a humanity standpoint, but from a football standpoint, he's just not a viable option right now. Russell says, you think there's any chance of NPF losing the starting job? O-line play wasn't half bad. Again, Dillard wasn't good, but that was pointed out to me more clearly by Cosell when we did the podcast today. I came away feeling not great about the Dillard experience. He graded out pretty well, which was a surprise to me. And then when Greg walked me through it later, it kind of helped me understand what it was with better context that I was seeing. But that was the whole, you guys remember me telling you guys about Fant, right? George Fant, who ended up signing with the Texans. Fant wanted more money here because he thought he could win the starting job, like not just for the 6 weeks, but for the season. NPF wasn't a good offensive lineman last year. Now, plenty of rookie offensive linemen are bad. NPF would not be the first by any stretch of the imagination. 3rd round pick, big spot, starts 16 of 17 games, and doesn't do well necessarily, but valuable starting experience and not something that he couldn't improve on. But you saw him in the preseason, and he wasn't good in the preseason. Hubbard was solid on Sunday, and I thought I was surprised by that. But to their credit, they went out and performed in a big spot. Dillard was the biggest problem of the offensive line. We'll talk about the offensive line tomorrow, as I mentioned. We don't need to shoot all our or fire all our bullets at once. Whatever the metaphor is going to be. Rishi says, "What's the topic on tomorrow's radio show?" Can I get through a primetime show first before you guys start asking me what's on the radio show tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. For God's sakes. Listen, I know I have a short attention span. I don't need you guys to contribute to my short attention span. Let's stay on topic and let's finish the show. But what's the most concerning thing on the injury report? Most concerning thing is Fulton or Hooker. Either answer is acceptable. Both are going to matter in a big way against the Chargers. Mr. Jones says, "What's the topic on Friday?" You guys are a trip. The only thing I'll tell you is that Arden Key's on the radio show tomorrow. That's about as much as I'm willing to divulge. So let's do a little over-under. What is it going to take for you all to get over Ryan Tannehill's 3-interception performance today? Because he was done talking about it with us at the podium earlier. You'll hear from Ryan Tannehill here in just a moment, right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, wherever justice demands. Amanda and her team have practiced in Tennessee family and criminal courts across 35 counties in the state of Tennessee. They mean what they say when they say they are there to protect your constitutional rights. They are there to make sure that you understand your constitutional rights. You may not even know that you need protecting of your constitutional rights. You may not be familiar overwhelmingly familiar with your constitutional rights as they stand. You may not be overwhelmingly familiar with constitutional law. That's okay. That's what the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry are there to help you with. Wherever justice demands, AmandaJGentry.com. So as you look at Ryan Tannehill's struggles against the Saints, there's a lot of things that he needs to improve upon. So what's it going to take for you guys to get over it? Because I think, like it or not, you're going to have to get over it, right? He's your starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. He's your starting quarterback as long as he's healthy until the end of the year. So there's going to be a lot of, ill will that you guys have for Tannehill throughout the course of the year, no matter how he comes out and responds, be it Sunday, be it next week in Cleveland, be it the week after that. I don't remember who their week 4 opponent is off the top of my head. I believe it's a home game. Either way, there's not going to be a lot that he can do to really get back into your good graces, right? Especially when you come out and play as poorly as he did in week 1. Now, it's pretty interesting to hear Greg Cosell talk about Tannehill from that game, because his explanation, remember we played for you the clip of me asking Tannehill in postgame, hey man, can you explain the interceptions? And he wouldn't do it, didn't want to do it today. But Greg explained the interceptions really, really well and put it in context that I think is important for everybody to have. So you can check that out on the Install podcast. But today, Ryan Tannehill was not interested in continuing. Well, Ryan Tannehill fielded a handful of questions about the Saints, but at a certain point, he was over it.
Definitely be easy to be a lot better than that. Tough to watch that film. I watched it, I think, 5 times over the Sunday, Monday. Kind of went through everything multiple times and looked at the areas where I can be better, where we can be better, and I think we nailed those down and excited to move forward.
So he's excited to move forward. Why wouldn't you be? It would be easy to be excited to move forward after playing as poorly as he did that past Sunday. And he knows, right? He knows, we know, the coaching staff knows, everybody's acknowledged this, everybody's spoken about it publicly, whether you feel like he's been accountable or not, accountable enough or not. Like, I love you guys, but a lot of you being dramatic about the Tannehill commentary afterwards, right? And you're allowed to be as dramatic as you want when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions and you lose a game by a point. I'm not there to tell you how to feel. I just think that a lot of the reaction has been, a bit dramatic and easy for me to say as somebody who's super dramatic, but that he wasn't accountable enough after the game. And give a shit about that. Don't throw the 3 interceptions. That's basically how I process. But there was a trend of continuing to ask him about the Saints today, and at a certain point, Tannehill had enough.
Guys, I just want to move on to San Diego. I'm not going to answer any more questions about what happened Sunday. What happened Sunday happened. I'm not happy about it. No one in this building's happy about it. But at the end of the day, it's over. We can learn from it. We can move on. And if you have any questions about LA, I'm more than happy to answer.
So, I don't blame him, right? Like, I think that it's enough. There's nothing that they can do to change the result. There's nothing that he's going to say that's going to make you feel better about the result. The result was that you lost by a point and he threw 3 interceptions. So there's only so many ways that he can explain that away, right? And he's not going to give you schematic examples because why would he? He doesn't. It does not benefit them at all, Vrabel or Tannehill, to go into any more detail than that. Ken Caniff says, I've been wanting him gone since the AFC Championship game, Buck. Why should I switch up now? Well, because that was stupid then. I mean, because that's ludicrous that you've wanted him gone since the AFC Championship game. Why? Because Rashaan Evans missed a tackle before halftime and Patrick Mahomes broke you over his knee? That's silly. I think that, if you wanted to be critical of Tannehill 2021, there was plenty of evidence in the postseason. 2022 obviously was not a fair sample size for him. He was under duress the entire time and got hurt. 2023, yeah, Sunday is fair criticism, but I think that why should you switch up? Because it was a stupid opinion. It's okay to change your opinion when new information becomes available, not to just dig in your heels and for the sake of digging in your heels because you were wrong then and just because you might be right now 3 years later. I mean, almost 4 years later. That doesn't justify anything. Excuses, says Ken. No, it's not excuses. It's the reality of the situation. The quarterback took you to an AFC Championship game. It's the best quarterback that you've had since Steve McNair. The quarterback had a shitty performance on Sunday. You're allowed to react to the shitty performance on Sunday. Beyond that, discussing anything about Tannehill's past doesn't mean anything for 2023, right? You can try and extrapolate it out if you want to. It is a it is not worth the time or the effort, because he's saying, that he was prognosticating. Ken is saying that he was prognosticating what he saw then. Well, there was nothing to prognosticate then, because Ryan Tannehill was fine in the AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes got ahead of him. Patrick Mahomes did your defense dirty. The defense missed some tackles, and it all fell apart, right? Same thing that happened in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas were up by, 21 points in the week prior in the divisional round when they were playing the Chiefs. Then the Chiefs came back and scored 7 straight touchdowns. Nobody was saying that Deshaun Watson, was washed then, even though he might be washed now. It's just it's silliness to try and go back and do revisionist history that way. A lot of people are going to do it. You're entitled to do whatever you want. I just think, to not point out the stupidity in that is a wasted exercise. So as we continue to talk about the situation, what's it going to take for you guys to get over it? I mean, a win, right? He doesn't need to throw 3 touchdowns to make up for 3 interceptions. He needs to operate efficiently. He needs to not turn the ball over. Here's what I need to see from Ryan Tannehill. He needs to not turn the ball over. He needs to operate. He needs to look comfortable within the offense, and they need to win a football game. They need to win this football game. And I know a must win in week 2 is a bit dramatic, but I do think that it's a conference opportunity. It's a conference opponent. The Chargers figure to be in the postseason picture down the stretch. If you can get a win over them now at home, it fixes, maybe it doesn't fix everything, but it fixes enough of, it at least takes the Saints result out of your mind, off of top of mind, and you can figure out how to beat the Browns, because the Browns are going to have some pretty nasty defensive stuff to throw at you as well. I think that the game, and I'm sure the Chargers are favorites coming into Nashville. I haven't seen what the initial line is just yet. Perhaps one of you guys could submit it in the chat. But, I think that the Chargers are a better football team. I think that the Titans can do some things on defense to make that an unpleasant experience for Justin Herbert. I think that, in the same way that they held Derek Carr to 16 points, I think that they can also find ways to stifle a better quarterback in Herbert. But also, they have to be able to capitalize on their opportunities. They can't be 0 for 3 in the red zone. They can't turn the ball over 3 times. They can't miss opportunities to score the way that Tannehill did. There's a lot that they can improve upon, but a lot that I liked about their offense. Like I was talking to Cosell about this today. Like, I love Tim Kelly's game plan. And, the fact that they lost and people are going to bitch about Derrick Henry not getting enough carries in the second half, like I said, I'm not going to try and talk you guys off of the idea that it's okay to give Derrick Henry 5 carries in the second half. But it would have been had they hit one of 2 plays, right? If they'd have hit the Spears wheel route, or if Tannehill had hit the Spears wheel route, if Tannehill had hit the flea flicker, then it would be totally fine to give Derrick Henry 5 carries in the second half, because they would have won the football game. And they had a great game plan to do it. The game plan was fine. The quarterback was not. And I think that's that I think is ultimately the takeaway from what it is that we saw in New Orleans. All right, stock up, stock down. Let's do rising and falling on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll discuss at length together right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Get your Intel edge. Don't sell without the Intel, as a matter of fact. Gary Ashton has all the intel that you need to succeed in this red-hot Nashville real estate market. Bert has been kind enough to provide us the gambling line. It's the Chargers -3 in Nashville. Gary won't give you gambling intel, but he can certainly give you real estate intel in the Middle Tennessee market. GaryAshton.com is where you go. So, whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week? Bryce Erickson says Willis and Levis stock up. Jets going to trade us. Stock down is Tannehill. Well, no, the Jets aren't trading for any of your quarterbacks. That's not something that's being discussed. That's not something that anybody has reported. That's not anything that the Jets seem to be interested in right now. none of the quarterbacks are being traded to New York as of today. There's been zero discussions to that effect. Bama stock down, says Mr. Jones. Yes, a very, very bad weekend for the Alabama Crimson Tide, losing at home to Texas, to Steve Sarkisian. Roy L. Wright saying the Braves, National League champs, National League East champs, stock up. Absolutely. It's the sixth consecutive division title for Atlanta, which is really, really impressive. To their credit, I don't watch baseball. I don't pretend to watch baseball. I don't talk about baseball on the radio show because I don't know anything about baseball. So it would be a wasted discussion for me to spend much time on baseball at all. And also, like, I can physically hear people turning their radios off whenever we get into baseball. But credit to the Braves, 6 straight division titles, really, really impressive stuff, and something to be celebrated. There is no doubt. Colorado Rising, says Music City Malik. Yes, Colorado Rising. Really, really good. Scott Van Horn says, of the play calling, you start the first series without Henry. Was exactly what I expected from Vrabel. 1-15, take him out. Dumb, hate when Vrabel does this. Vrabel calls offensive plays. Well, no, he didn't call the offensive plays on Sunday. Tim Kelly does. Vrabel is on the headset. Vrabel, that's for every coach. Every coach is on the headset when the plays are called, and Mike can give feedback as he likes, but Mike almost always defers to too much Derrick Henry, and that's not something that you experienced on Sunday, and you would have won the game if the quarterback hadn't shit the bed. And that's, that is the moral of the story. Your game plan was fine. The quarterback was not. Mr. Jones says, Buck Rising, primetime show, stock up. Well, listen, it's probably my sense of entitlement, but I always think we're trending up around here. Demetrius says correctly, Joe Milton, stock down. Yeah, bad week listen, Joe Milton stock flat. Like, I know what Joe Milton is, right? And if Joe Milton does some things to surprise me this year, great. If Joe Milton doesn't, then I have had, I don't want to say low expectations, but I think Joe Milton's a finished product if we're talking a little balls here. But I do think that a stock up, this story that I saw from the Basic Training podcast that was laugh out loud funny. So funny that I thought I would not only bring it to the radio show, but bring it to you here today.
All right, Lucas sent this to the group chat last night.
I'm regretting that.
Why? What are you scared of?
I am not in support of this.
You are so sexually repressed on the air, and I don't understand why you choose to exist that way. It seems terrible. Why are you scared?
You are the opposite of that. You go at great lengths to the other way of that.
All right, just play the clip from Basic Training. This is my dumbest thing in sports this week.
So we're having sex in a spooning position, but I hadn't seen his face yet. And I go to change positions, and as I do so, I notice that he has in his AirPods.
I thought it was going to be a different person. Oh, my God.
I kind of ask him, what are you doing? And he proceeds to tell me that he is listening to, highlights from a soccer game from that day. And we do continue having sex, and he does not take out the AirPods. And I guess my question is this too big of a red flag to overlook?
Was it you?
What do you mean it wasn't me?
Was it you listening to your own Nashville SC call? Play it.
I hate you.
Do it.
Go right side of the box. Cuts it back. Pico on his left foot. Strike! Pico kills it off! Delirium!
Thank you for forcing that mental image upon everybody. You are the worst.
The clip is so good. The idea that whoever this person is having sex with their AirPods in is laugh out loud funny. It is hilarious. I had so many texts shocked that I was doing that on FM radio today. And listen, apparently you're allowed to get away with a lot on FM radio. It's just not a lot of people push it because a lot of people who do FM radio for a living are in their 50s and 60s and get scared of the word sex. And I think it's laugh out loud funny. If he's watching MLS highlights while doing the dirty, that says a lot. So who else? Bryce Erickson says, Buck, I got kids. Come on, man. I thought this show was PG. Hell no. Since when? PG. You must be unfamiliar. Listen, I don't have kids. It's not my. It's always been a position of mine. Don't watch the show with your kids. It is also a position of mine that is not my job to raise your children. If you want to, if your children are watching this show with you, and we happen to wander into some sexually related material, and it happens to be some dude having sex with a woman with AirPods in, listening to soccer highlights, then you know what? I'm not going to apologize. That dude doesn't sound like he apologized for leaving his AirPods in and listening to soccer highlights, nor will I apologize. I think that is hilarious. Your kids are going to have to learn about sex at some point down the line. I think that why not give them the Burts and the bees instead of the birds and the bees? We'll do the Burts and the bees. I'll bring Bert on here, have him give the children a sex talk in what can only be the biggest of HR violation. Stop saying position, Buck. What's wrong with position? It makes me so happy. I want to listen to that clip again. The clip again is so funny.
All right, Lucas sent this to the group chat last night.
I'm regretting that.
Why? What are you scared of?
I'm not in support of this.
You are so sexually repressed on the air, and I don't understand why you choose to exist that way. It seems terrible. Why are you scared?
You are the opposite of that. You go at great lengths to the other way of that.
All right, just play the clip from Basic Training. This is my dumbest thing in sports this week.
So we're like having sex in a spooning position, but I hadn't seen his face yet. And I go to change positions, and as I do so, I notice that he has in his AirPods.
I thought it was going to be a different person. Oh, my God.
I kind of asked him, like, what are you doing? And he proceeds to tell me that he is listening to, like, highlights from a soccer game from that day. And we do continue having sex, and he does not take out the AirPods. And I guess my question is this, like, too big of a red flag to overlook?
Was it you?
What do you mean it wasn't me?
Was it you listening to your own Nashville SC call? Play it.
I hate you.
Do it.
Go right side of the box. Cuts it back. Pico on his left foot. Strike! Pico kills it off! Delirium!
Thank you for forcing that mental image upon everybody. You are the worst.
It's true. I am the worst. But it makes me happy. Bert, I'm not going to read that on the air. Get the hell out of here. You guys are unbelievable. You guys are the best. This is why Lucas and Bert give Buck hell all the time. That's right. That's right, because I deserve it. That's okay. It's a lot of fun. Radio show tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. Arden Key, always a lot of fun. He'll join us at 11:15. Titans on the practice field. You'll also hear from Derrick Henry and Greg Cosell on what it was that he saw on the 3 interceptions. We're going to have a great time tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. So join us then. Go check out the latest episode of The Install with Greg Cosell. Bert, if he's been good at his job, already has it up on YouTube, which inevitably means that it's not up on YouTube. So I feel that will be something that you will have to wait until tomorrow morning for. But when it's up, when it's up, delirium. That's what you say when it's up. I got to get out of here before I crack more.
Are you surprised to hear that?
Certainly not. The first year we took it to the limit. And I was in Miami with my new beach house. Well, it was a couple minutes from the beach.
It's been 20 years since then. We haven't been too strong in the last few years.
Oh, we've been strong. We're just playing by the rules. You can't have a newcomer come in and steal a show.